Hi, Laurie Morse here, and we're going to take our time together in this Facebook Live to talk about the dual nature of reality, and especially when it comes down to our emotions, because sometimes we can honestly feel quite shackled by certain emotions. And so if we just back up a little bit and think about the nature of reality from the point of contrast, it's easy enough to see that there's a night and a day, and a sun and a moon, and an up and a down, and a front and a back, all these opposing contrasts that actually give us what we call reality. And you might remember in the cosmology of life that we talked about in our first video last month, we talked about the reason that we have that is so that we can actually have an experience of life itself without everything being all the same, meaning if we have contrast, then we can experience life. So when it comes to our emotions, we can be quite run by some of our more daunting emotions like fear, sometimes even terror, anger, jealousy, judgment, self-criticism, criticism of others. And so one of the most graceful ways that I know of to actually transform and release those kinds of emotions is by way of a polar opposite counterbalancing method. And we do this by way of a creative process because there's so much transformational energy that happens when we're in a creative process that it takes away a lot of the intensity of those kinds of emotions. Some emotions still are intense, but in our next video coming up next week, I will walk you through a process on how to actually do that. So, but to just give you sort of a preview of that, let's just use the energy of anger as one example here. So let me get my hands in a way you can see both. Right. So if we have anger on this side and we are looking for its opposing, because everything has two sides, everything has a contrasting side. Think of a coin. The coin is not just one side, it's both sides. There's heads and tails, right? And it's the same thing. There's the sun and the moon. We would not know the warmth of the sun without the coolness of the moon. We would not know the feeling of water without the warmth of fire, right? So there's always these contrasting polarities, dual opposites in this life that we live on a planet of polarity such as Earth. So if we have anger, what we're looking for, and there can be anger on any number of sides. So the same polar opposite for anger on the subject of traffic isn't going to be the same as the polar opposite. It doesn't have to be the same, I guess I should say it that way. It may not be the same as the polar opposite for how angry we are at the state of the world or at our teenage son for having lied or what, there's a number of ways that we find ourselves in anger, right? So if you just pick one, then you can work with that a little bit more. So let's just say it's anger at traffic, because tackling anger over the state of the world in a short little Facebook Live is not fair. So anyway, if we're angry over traffic, then maybe the polar opposite is allowing other drivers to drive the way they do. Maybe that's not true for you, though. Maybe you would rather choose a sense of ease while you're driving, no matter what other cars do. Maybe you accept that there are just shitty drivers on the road, right? Because that's an easy enough case to make. So you want to just sort of poke around a little bit, and you'll know when the opposite to anger over traffic in this case is the right fit for you, because you'll feel a sense of relief as a balance point to anger over traffic. And then you hold those two energies, and you do that without being wrapped up around the outcomes. This is the true nature of not being attached, right? So it's just all this is observation. I observe that I get angry when I drive. I observe that I have lots of judgments of many drivers, that kind of thing. And then you find its counterbalance. Maybe judgment toward the driver, you can find a counterbalancing energy of compassion. I often think this when I'm driving. I think I could so quick go to, I had a spiritual teacher once say, you can tell where you're at with your spiritual progress when you're driving, because everything will get up back in your face again, and you'll be able to see if you're truly is far along your path as you think you are, right? So anyway, one of the things I do a lot is I'll say, well, this person, I have no idea why this person is driving the way they are. Maybe their wife just died, or maybe they're rushing to the hospital for some reason that I don't know. And it just unhooks me a little bit from the judgment. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for constant counterbalance to the energies that can tend to just hook us like nobody's business, right? Choke us off of life. And so we're looking to stabilize those kinds of energies. And truth be told, if you want to really put some emphasis and focus and awareness on this, you can find plenty of meat. So, but starting out, just play with how energies counterbalance themselves like that, and see what you notice inside of yourself. You'll know when you're on the right track, when you feel a sense of relief, or like you feel like you're unhooked from the anger or whatever the emotion is you're tending. The tougher ones I always bring to a page, a journal page, a watercolor page, a canvas, because I know that the outcome of that is the following. So here's what happens when we have counterbalancing energies. When they're truly counterbalanced, or when there's an access to both instead of just weighting heavy with one, then there is a third transcendent energy that actually becomes something more like wisdom or truth that becomes available to us. And I highly recommend that you play with this for long enough to feel that third energy find its way into your awareness, because it's actually pretty magical. And there's no reason that you shouldn't have that all day, every day. So if this idea of duality and polar opposites and stabilizing emotional energy speaks to you, then watch for the video that will be coming out next week, where we'll do a creative healing process together, and you'll actually get to see and feel and know how that happens on a page. And then you can do as many of those as you want. And if you're not yet on our complimentary invitation for this 12-month journey, make sure you click on the link to the side of this video and get on that invitation list. Otherwise, you won't get the monthly video that takes you through a variety of creative healing processes on many different subjects. It's all outlined actually on the link. So make sure you get yourself in that loop, and then we'll get you your videos every week. And then I'm doing Facebook Lives every week too. Or sorry, you'll get your videos every month, and I'm doing Facebook Lives every week. Okay, so on that happy note, go have some duels with your duality, and we'll catch you in the video where we'll actually take this to these dual emotions to a creative healing process. Until then, in creative love and wholeness.